Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jalial in this incarnation, and a while ago I did a video talking about responsibility and guilt. So we have these transits with Saturn, and I wanted to amplify this concept because I think that many times many behaviors that are linked actually with disconnected ego are confused with responsibility. So responsibility is to respond in the greatest alignment we can with our own soul and with the tools and the level of consciousness we have at the present moment in relation with the experiences that we live. So from here, we are understanding that responsibility is also a path because as much as we are expanding our own consciousness, we are having more co-creation power, so more responsibility we assume. I'm going to put out an example about this. For a person that is not aware that his or her reality is totally linked, associated with their own energy, or for example, that his or her soul was the one that chooses many patterns and experiences in this incarnation, well, that person cannot be responsible for that because that person is not seeing that. And I think it's important here, I wanted to clarify this, because if we are able to perceive something about the reality of other brother or sister that that person cannot see, we cannot demand to that person to be responsible for something that is not aware of. We can share our perceptions in a loving way if the other person is receptive, but we cannot demand, because if we are doing that, we are acting out of our disconnected ego. And many times we are doing those things, those behaviors emerges because we don't want to feel alone in the process. So it's very important to respect the processes of others and to understand that we are not below or above that person because of that. We are in different paths, that's all. So back to the concept, other thing that happens many times on the first instances of what many people calls the spiritual awakening is that we have this concept that we are the co-creators of the reality, but in a very intellectual level. So when the challenges come, that are usually the times that we are tested to apply the things that we are learning and integrating, we forget about this and we are not able to apply it. So life is going to show us in different ways, because this is an individual path, what we need in order to comprehend this reality more and more. And then universe, because this is an infinite path to return to the fount where all the souls born. So back to the earth, descending this concept to the earth, that is just precisely the place that we need to apply the things that we are learning and integrating. How I said, it's important to make this difference between the behaviors that are linked with disconnected ego from responsibility. And responsibility is not self-punishment or self-indulgence. With this, what I'm trying to say is that many times we discover that there are millions of things that we could have done better, or even that we acted totally out of our disconnected ego. And when we are back to the alignment, and with this, I am saying that we are reconnecting to the infinite consciousness because we are capable of observe all of those behaviors, then we know that we have to change. But the only time that we can do that is the here and now. So with this planetary ascension, we are being pushed in different ways for each one to stay in presence, because over-focus in both past or future brings a lot of psychic imbalances and suffering. So self-punishment in this case is over-focused in the past that is creating guilt. Other thing is to look at the past to do an integration in the here and now, to learn about something. And self-indulgence is actually the absence of responsibility. We are not assuming the responsibility. So both behaviors can take us to repetition of patterns, and many times that is exactly what we need, to repeat things in order to understand that we don't want to repeat them anymore. So responsibility is also to recognize at the present moment what is a priority for our soul. And this is an eternal learning. This is something that this is not a fixed pattern. What I'm trying to say is that there are moments that responsibility is recognizing that we need to ask for help. In other moments is recognizing that we need to give help. In other moments is about understanding that we can do it alone and we need to do it alone. And other moments could be linked with applying a healthy exigency. In other moments could be linked with understanding that we are in a very high self-exigency, so we have to stop. So this is something that we have to discover in ourselves, and nobody outside can tell us what is actually the priority for our soul at this present moment. And at last, I wanted to transmit this because I think this is a great key, and to remember that all the things that I am mentioning are actually practices. So I think responsibility is about recognizing, assuming, and accepting our imperfections, our limitations associated to the shells of our identity in order to change them. But it's very important to practice this from a place of love and not with self-judgment, because self-judgment is, again, disconnected ego. And that is what causes shame, guilt, rejection, fear. And also, if we don't recognize that all of these things are operating inside of ourselves, if we are not capable to observe them, because these are ancestral patterns that we are carrying, the most probable thing is that we are going to project this onto the outside, directly or indirectly. So a great collective example that I could give is the education and the way that generations raised their children. You know, this is something that was perpetuated from generation to generation, and the limits, the boundaries were transmitted through fear and control, through punishment or reward. And this caused a very distorted relationship with both the internal authority and with what we consider external authorities. And also this created in many people the perception that responsibility is actually a burden and not the power of creating their own reality and their own experience. So the transmission of limits, of boundaries through fear and control also created a lot of people that repressed their emotions, their desires, and their potential in order to fit in a society, and that many other people transgressed the norms without divine purpose, without any purpose, in rebellion. And even we could have experimented both of them. So we have to understand that responsibility and boundaries are very loving ways to express ourselves, and we need to start to transmit these things with more love. And other thing that happens is that many times life is teaching us lessons of responsibility and boundaries, and we could perceive them as very hard ones, but we have to understand that that is the only way that life found in order for making us to comprehend new perceptions of this reality, and that many other times we are very, very resistant to integrate those lessons. So we have to remember to ourselves that everything that is happening is doing in order for us to understand that we are the authors of our reality. And that's where the word authority derives. So I just wanted to leave this reflection today. Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.